Hey all, I'm Josh Hale. I have been in the practice of law for nearly 20 years and the startup space nearly all that time, and got pulled into crypto kicking and screaming about 4 years ago. I knew nothing about it. And I think there's a lot of people in crypto that are in a very similar boat. They got pulled in for one reason or another, and they're doing some really cool things, but ultimately, when they're doing those things, they are flying by the seat of their pants. There's this new thing called a DAO. It's a decentralized autonomous organization. This thing's really cool for a lot of purposes, but ultimately, everybody that is in that world thinks that decentralized is safe. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you have a situation of wrong way. When you have a DAO, you have this entity that people have like this cloud of people that are all over the world, and ultimately these people have assets, they have governance, they have all these things that they're choosing to do with this other group of people, and they're making legal choices. There's less than 10 jurisdictions in the world that really recognize a DAO. And even with those jurisdictions, the legislation is imperfect. So why do I say, are you safe? Well, does everybody here live somewhere? I would assume the answer is yes, right? And I would assume many of you also maybe own your house. Well, let's say your DAO makes a bad choice. They do something that they shouldn't have done, but you're the only guy or only gal living in California, and you got a real nice house. If you have no legal entity, and you've done something wrong as a DAO, and it's affected me, Josh, because we're talking about me. I like talking about me. If you've done something wrong, and you have a nice house, I like your house too. I'm gonna take it. Because you have no legal protection if you haven't built legal protection. I think that's important. I think that's important for all of us to understand. Because right now, the word decentralized kind of assumes that I can't get sued, right? Well, that's not really the case. If you're not a legal entity, if you have no legal entity, then you, every one of you, are the legal entity. Because all a corporation is by law is a person, right? I know that sounds really weird, but by law, a corporation is just a new person. And that is the entity that's saving you from me taking your house. Because I like your house, it's nice, it's cute. I really like the windows, right? So that also gets to the point of, well, you know, it's an autonomous entity. This entity is an entity of which I don't ultimately get to make the choice. We use a smart contract, we use a vote, and maybe I didn't even vote for this thing. Well, just a couple weeks ago, there was a case about Uki, and they changed their name to like BZX or some such thing. And ultimately, the courts have said that even token holders on Uki, on this DAO, might be liable for what's going on. So again, do you like your house? Well, we have an organization. The organization saves me, right? Well, no, you don't have an organization. You have a group of people that can all be sued. And if you have the nicest house, I now live in the nicest house of the organization. You. That's important. These are important words broken down to be simple, because ultimately, if you're in this marketplace, you know you're probably in 100 DAOs, but do you know what the incorporation status is of any of them? And what if they're making choices that you don't even know about? You could still lose your house. So everybody always asks the question to attorneys of, can't you just give me a straight answer? And here's a straight answer for you right now. Am I screwed? The answer is probably. Because if you have no organization protecting your assets, Literally, the attorney word for protecting your ass. If you have no organization, you are screwed. Because if you have no legal entity, again, you are the legal entity. This is important information, and it's something that you should be thinking about. So am I personally liable? Well, you're not that liable. That one's just spelled wrong. Whoever wrote this, horrible. But you might be liable. You might lose your house. And I really, again, like your house. Why do I add humor to these conversations? Well, I'm a lawyer, and lawyers classically are boring as shit. Why do I wear green glasses, blue jacket? I could do what every other lawyer does. And what I found is I don't get heard. I'm trying to tell you how to not lose your house. I'm trying to tell you how to protect your kids. I'm trying to tell you how to protect your family. What I'm telling you is very important. DAO is not spelled S-A-F-E. So can you do anything? I never get political. Everybody that knows me knows I never have any political intent in what I do. I'm a lawyer. I work. When they ask me what party I am, I say I'm a lawyer. But I like the phrase, yes, you can. Yes, we can. We can do something to protect you. That may be having a big structure with multiple levels. It could be as simple as structuring something. But something is better than nothing, because right now, if you have no legal entity, you, again, are the legal entity. Now, right now, I have broken the speech down to be about 6 minutes long. And I've done that on purpose for two reasons. One is because I am part of DAOs just like you. In fact, I'm part of one that we made in East Denver not too long ago called Name DAO. Basically, the idea to give people a way to make their own name. Very simple. It's stuff that I find entertaining. This is not work for me. It's just fun. But ultimately, without an entity, I could be screwed on this situation, and you could be in any of the other situations you have. The reason I kept it short is if anybody has any questions, I got about 1.5 minutes to answer any of them. And if not, I can tell you more about this because I think it's fun. Does anybody have any questions whatsoever about DAOs or whether or not you might be screwed? Cool. Nobody has any questions, so I get to tell you about NameDAO. So NameDAO is this silly idea. I'm in a group of Joshes. There's 50 of us in this group. There's a group in New York City, 500 Ryans. I have no interest in being in the Ryan group, but I am tied to my own name. You're probably tied to yours. It's something fun and silly to be in a group of people that are like-minded, like-named. We have a group of Bens, over 100 Bens. If the idea of something silly like this attracts you, feel free to join. Feel free not to join. I'm not here shilling anything. I just think it's fun and silly. With that being said, if you're involved in DAOs, find out how they're structured. Find out if you are screwed. Thank you, everybody.